Okay, we are live.
Woohoo! All
So,
right. So you said that you got John's book, The Common Path to Uncommon Success.
yep.
I kind of want to give it to my brother because he's kind of been trying to figure out where he wants his life to go. And it's not really a life book. It's more of a, here's how I built Entrepreneur on Fire, and here are a bunch of other people who have kind of gone on the same journey. And here are the specific steps that they took in order to get there.
Right.
But it seems like that's an area of life where my brother's willing to invest, and then he can kind of figure the other stuff out as he goes. But yeah, so he kind of walks through essentially how he started the show and some of the advice he got and the advice he took and the advice he didn't. And, there was a lot of just do the work and, release before you're ready and things like that are kind of some of the lessons in there. And then, it's okay. Once we got going, here are some of the things we did to, accelerate. It was a really, really well put together book, but I don't know that there were any like super deep lessons more than it was just, it's like, hey, this is what we did. And then this is what we did, right? Once you reach this stage, this is the next thing you need to be doing and thinking about. So if you're looking for kind of a guidebook to building a business and building influence, it's a terrific book. If you want to kind of follow his journey, it's a terrific book. If you're looking for a book that's going to solve all your problems in your business, this isn't that book. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was mainly interested in it for having something to refer people to give them like a good resource of, okay, this is basically how you do what I did and what people like me do is like, building the business. So
yeah, this is that book.
Okay, perfect.
That's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So it was really well put together. When I interviewed Kate for the podcast summit that I put together in December, I guess she was pretty instrumental in writing like the podcast processes and some of the other stuff in the book.
Okay.
Some of those chapters. So yeah, some of that stuff in there is more her than him, but interesting stuff. But yeah, I liked the book. It inspired me to kind of push ahead on some stuff. And yeah.
Cool. Okay. So what's been going on with you?
Oh my gosh, so much stuff, so much things.
Okay.
So do I just core dump? I mean, I don't know.
Go for it. Yeah. Let's hear it.
So last weekend I wasn't on, right? Last Friday because I was in Nashville. I was at the ISI live event.
Okay. Yeah, we were not on either. So
okay. So you didn't miss anything, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, while I was there, one of the things that just kept coming up over and over again was relationships. And I kind of had some mental breakthroughs there where I realized that my whole business is built on relationships.
Yeah.
And I have been super focused on technology and processes.
Yeah.
For a while. And so that kind of snapped me back to that. So I'm actually working on just figuring out how to reach out to people on a more regular basis and just make sure that I'm keeping those relationships alive and making them into the relationships that I want them to be.
Right.
And it's not just, it's funny because people are like, oh, so you're just, mercenary for business reasons. That's part of it. Honestly, I'm not going to lie, but if I'm going to have relationships with these people, I want to actually know them and, come to care about them and stuff like that. So, I'm just going to check in on them and stuff like that. So that was one major breakthrough. And I've actually, it was like, okay, well now I got to find a CRM. And I've used CRMs in the past. By the way, they all suck.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know if you found one that you like, but I haven't. So
not really. I mean, I've used like Streak because it was integrated into Gmail and I like that, but I played around with closer.io for a while. I thought that was pretty good for sales. But I'm trying to think of some other ones. I played around with a few other ones.
Yeah, I used Pipedrive for a while. I've used HubSpot. They all have a critical flaw, right? Is my issue, right? So like Pipedrive was fine for driving sales, but what they wanted you to do with the sales process didn't line up with what I wanted to do with the sales process.
Right. Yeah.
And usually the issue that where they fall apart is if they're built for sales, they focus on phone and email, phone and email, phone and email. And for me, my sales process is reaching out on social media and, trying to, get their attention in other ways. And they don't have a mechanism for that. And in order for you to record any of it, including the phone calls, you have to click like 8 places in the interface just to get to it. And so anyway, what I'm looking at right now. So, and this is going to tie into something else I'm going to bring up in a minute, but Monday.com actually has a CRM template.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
And so the nice thing about Monday.com is it's highly customizable. Their automation interface could use some serious work.
Yeah.
But I can kind of make that work. So that's kind of what I've been pulling together there. And to be honest, what I've got the contacts list, which is pretty straightforward, right? Is one of the boards, and then you can link between boards, right? So I've got a follow-up interface now, and I'm just going to put people on. I've also got like a sponsorship sales board, and I've got a accelerator sales board, and then I've got like just follow up, right, for anybody that's not in those two camps, right? Because I don't need to do any of the rest of the rest of those follow-ups are going to be more personal and stuff, right? And within the follow-ups, I think I do have, I'm eventually going to put like my podcast hosts in there and have but then what it does is I can set it so that at the beginning of every week it goes in and it says, hey, these are the people you need to follow up with this week, right? And so if they're set to weekly, then it'll set them up. If it's monthly, then it'll say, hey, follow up with these people this month, right? And it just gives me the to-dos, and then I can go figure out how I'm going to follow up with them. And then I can follow up with them, like for sponsorships and stuff. I can check on social media, and I can hit them in all these other places and see how that works. But it wasn't terribly hard to set up. So
okay, yeah, I didn't know that Monday had that. That's pretty cool. I haven't really played around with Monday. I've seen the ads for it, but I haven't.
Yeah. Well, the reason that I went with Monday was so while I was at the live event, I met a kid. He's like 17. He lives out in California, but he's helped a bunch of the other guys at the ISI retreat nail down their processes and get them all codified into Monday, so that it automatically prompts people to do stuff on a multi-step process. So one of my friends does ghostwriting, right? And so he writes blog posts and emails and stuff like that for his clients. And so he got his whole process ironed out and into Monday so that it prompts all the right people at all the right stages of the project, so that things go out on time and get reviewed on time and things like that. And so I talked through the podcast process with him, and he's going to get back to me next week. And, he's already templating it in Monday. I can go look at it right now. But anyway, once that's done, that whole process is just going to kind of be ironed out. And then I just have to make sure that the people who are prompted at each stage know how to do each stage. And for most of the stages, I'm already there. And for a lot of the rest of the stages, I need to show my coaching clients how to do that anyway. So that's one other thing that's going on there. And then I just sat down and I've been working through all of the people that I've been coaching that signed up. I've had 1 or 2 drop out of the accelerator. Both of them because I don't have time to chase all this stuff, is what they're telling me, right? The time commitment is too high, which really just tells me they didn't want it enough.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, so I've been going through and listing them out, and then just going through, okay, what did we talk about? What, I think I have all of those sales calls except one. And so just, what did we talk about? What did they want? What got them excited? Things like that. And just putting all those notes together. And then I'm going to be working out kind of a better sales process for that. But the other thing is I've kind of approached it as kind of this casual sales process leading into this. And I've realized that I need to go do a little bit more homework, right? And just make sure that I know where they're at and what they're up to. And, and some of that I can get by talking to them on the strategic calls that I schedule. But I'm going to go actually look them up on LinkedIn and stuff and get details that way before I go in. And then the other part of the process is going to be, in fact, I have one of those calls this afternoon. The other part of the process is just, now that I kind of know where a lot of these, because a lot of these guys have a lot in common. Manny helped me figure a lot of this out on Monday, during the mastermind call there. But I know what I'm asking about now. And so I can go in and I can say, okay, well, are you looking for something like this or something like this? Right. And why is that important to you? And, what do you think that's going to get you, and how, and then we can start to kind of craft this vision for them so that I can sell them on that vision. And I think that's going to make the sales process a whole lot cleaner and easier. And the other thing is it also makes it easier for me, because then I know what success looks like for them when they join the accelerator. So lots of stuff going there. And so those are kind of all the pieces that are coming together here. But a lot of it came out of that, just, I'm not just on a sales call, but I'm building a relationship, right? Yeah. I'm not on a sponsorship sales call. I'm building a relationship, right? I'm not just emailing these people to give me money. I'm building a relationship. And just realizing that if I can make those kinds of personal connections, and I can understand what these folks are really about and really see where their problems are between where they are and where they want to be, then I can draw that dotted line for them to follow and make that work for them. The other thing is like I was talking to some folks from DigitalOcean the other day, and they basically told me some of the issues that they've had with podcast sponsorships in the past, some of the ones that they're currently running, right. What kinds of engagement they're looking for, things like that. Like I don't have hard numbers, but they have a pretty good idea of what's worked for them. And so, just working through and saying, okay, well, why don't we do this? Right. Instead of just saying, oh, well, we can put your ads in our shows. It's made it a whole lot easier to start having these conversations with people and really understand who they are and what they're about. So anyway, I've had major breakthroughs this weekend.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think there's two elements to it, right? There's like the personal element, which you're hitting on now, and then there's the technical element of like the numbers and understanding. Like, so for example, there's a guy I'm coaching, and he's doing door-to-door sales, and like these door-to-door sales, he's selling solar, right? Mm-hmm. It's really like 1 out of 50, right? So he's got to knock 50 doors to get one sale, right? So in his mind, he's like, no one ever buys. He's like, I just get rejection all day. And I'm like, well, like from your mind, like because of your perception of it, mm-hmm. it's no one ever buys. But if you were to track the numbers, right, then you would see it's 1 out of 50. And then you would know that, well, you just got to knock 50 doors. That's what it is. Right. And you can work on the process and get to the point where you got to knock 40 doors, you improve those things. And so I feel like one thing might be useful for you to have like a checklist of like things you want to move them to, or ask them about, or get them to these spots in the call. Right. Mm-hmm. It's like, and then you can kind of track that over time, and you can be like, well, I know that if I get people to this point, that they have a 50% chance of buying. Right?
That makes sense. Like, yeah.
And then you can track, then you can quantify what's working. Because sometimes a lot of these things, like we don't have a very good instinctual way of knowing, what's working and mm-hmm. what's not. Right. Like we have to look at the numbers. And so so there's the two elements. So I think just make sure you're tracking, which you're using the CRM now. So you should be able to track, at least just think about where those points need to be in each step in the funnel. Cause it's more than just got on a phone call. Like, I mean, you can get it down to more nitty gritty levels. Like what did they, come up with a vision? Did they, mm-hmm. Volunteer this, whatever it ends up, the checkpoints that you have. I think that's useful.
Yeah, I like that. One other thing that I'm working on is that Monday actually has a dashboard functionality in it. And so I can build out the dashboard to see, this is when they filled, or this is when they subscribed. I don't know if I can tie it into ConvertKit, but I can see when they filled out the form, because it'll pull it in from Google Drive. And I can see when we got on a call. So how long that took. Once we got on the call, how many converted. These are numbers that Manny keeps pushing me to get. And I'm going to see if I can pull in something from like Google Analytics or something but I may just have my VA just go in every Monday and just say, okay, you had 30 people come to the page this week. You had 6 people get on ConvertKit, and you had 2 people fill out the form, right?
Yeah.
And that way I can kind of see how people are progressing through, right? And so then what that tells me is, okay, well, you had 6 people. So you had 30 people come to the page. You had 6 people actually fill in the email form, right? So what that means is that, I still need to improve that conversion rate. But if I have 6 people come in and I only have 2 of them fill out the form, then my welcome sequence needs work, right? And so I can kind of work through the process there too. But I like that as far as the call goes, going, okay, yeah, I was able to, nail down, hey, they're this, they're that. I had a call yesterday for the accelerator, and yeah, after about 20 minutes, it was pretty apparent that he wasn't a good fit for it. He couldn't afford it, for one, and he wasn't in a place where he could, take on some of this stuff, right? He wasn't willing to do the work, and it was really, really apparent. And so, I tried to help him as best I could for another 10 or 15 minutes, and then just got off the call because I still wanted to help him out. I just, yeah. But that's helpful, right? Because then I can say, okay, well, we never got to the concrete outcomes because he wasn't ready for it, right? He's just looking for, how do I get my next job, or something like that. And that was all that he was willing to talk about. And when I started talking about, getting in and, hey, if you have better exposure and better this and better that, it'll help with that. He just wanted more strategies on how to do better in the interviews, right? That's what it kept coming back to. And no matter how I tried to tie it into, hey, let's build influence, it just didn't click, right?
Yeah.
And so, I try to give him the vision of, hey, look, you could be in demand with, with this approach and stuff like that. And it just, that just wasn't where he was at. And that's fine, right? Because everybody's going to be at a different place. But yeah, knowing, okay, putting something in that says, hey, they got it when I said, hey, this is what you want, and this is how influence will get you there. Okay, here's the vision of where you're trying to get to, and here are the gaps between where you are and where that is, right? Those are all stages toward, the likelihood that they're going to pick it up. I like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, there's a lot of times where, like, when I am talking to coaching clients, and I'm not even getting on the phone call with them. I'm just recording a video for them, and I'm, based on what they said in their application, I'm just filtering them out there because, like, I know that based on what they've put in, like, especially if someone puts very little in the application, I don't even try and pitch them on the coaching. I dissuade them from the coaching. I'm like, I don't want you to waste your $1,500. Like, you know what I mean? And then that just, like, because it avoids wasting the time. Because if they send an application that doesn't have answers to the questions in there, or it's like, I just broke up with my girlfriend. Like, I just had one of those. And I'm like, I know this guy is not, like, if I try and sell him on coaching, I'm like, oh yeah, I can help you with that, whatever. And first of all, it's just like, it's not really worth it for him anyway, which is true. So, and then second of all, what's going to happen is he's going to come back and he's going to say, well, I have questions about this. And we're going to go back and forth 15 times. And he's not going to get the coaching, or he's going to say, send me the invoice and not pay it. And so it's going to waste my time. So it's better if I'm like, look, this isn't for you. I really don't think so. Like, you didn't take the time to put in the application. No offense. Like, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but, like, I want to work with serious people, and, and you, like, if you want to send me an email and tell me why you actually are serious and give me real answers to things, then I'll see if I, have a slot for you. But I don't think it's worth your money. I don't want to waste your money. That's it. And then sometimes when I send that, people are like, oh, okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Like, you know what I mean? And then, maybe in the future they become a prospect. But sometimes when I send that, people are like, no. And they send me 2 pages of information, like, and then they're sold. I don't have to sell them. Right. And it's because you're recognizing, like, the points. Like, I know, like, when people say certain things, they're going to sign up for the coaching. And I know other things, they're not going to sign up for the coaching. And so if they're not sending the thing, I'm cutting them off unless they're going to say unless they're going to take that next step. Right. So I'm just trying to walk them through the steps, because I know which steps that they need to take in order to be there. And if they're not there, you can't sell someone at that
Right.
point, right? It's sort of like if someone's shopping
Mhm.
for a car and you ask them, like if you're a car salesman and you're like, well, what kind of, what kind of payment do you have on your existing car? And they're like, oh yeah, it's like I'm underwater in it, or I mean,
Uh-huh.
I'm like $10,000 negative on my existing one. You don't really need to talk to them anymore because they're
Right.
not going to buy a car. It's not going to
Right.
happen. You know what I mean? So you just don't need to waste your time. But
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. You send them a breakup email and essentially say, "Hey, look, here are
yeah,
some other resources where you might be able to get the help you need."
exactly. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So, what are the stats now?
The stats?
That's the only question I'm going to ask you.
I know. Let me pull up analytics and stuff because I'm still pulling this stuff together so that I can just see it in one place. But so over the last week, we've had 44 unique page views.
Mm-hmm. When did you change the title? The copy?
Monday.
Okay. And since Monday, since you changed the copy headline or whatever it is you changed, I don't know how much you changed, but since you changed, what's the data?
Hang on. So since Monday was the 19th.
Yeah. What time did you change it? Because when we talked, you hadn't changed it yet.
It was right after that call. I changed it.
So let's just call it
because-
Tuesday. Since Tuesday,
Okay.
what have your results been?
All right. So since Tuesday, let me just change this real quick. Tuesday through today. We've had 31 unique page views. We've had 5 of those people signed up for the mailing list.
That's a 15% conversion right now, which is okay, but still bad.
It's better than it was.
Yeah, but it's still pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, I'm still formulating some of this because I'm pulling together that info that you told me to with looking at my current customers and figuring out what that headline needs to be.
Mm-hmm, yeah, it's an iterative process. You initially throw up the most, like what you think would be the perfect thing, but then as the customers start to pour in, then you'll start to hone in on what exactly is the perfect person who wants what I have to give them.
Yeah. So then I had, let's see. So I've had one person actually fill out the form. And since then, I've had 2 calls. So some of the people from, the filling it in the week before, scheduled calls. But yeah, that's kind of where things are sitting. So yeah, I need to, if I can get that first number up and then start getting people to actually fill in the form. But yeah, those are the numbers. That's where I'm sitting. So it looks like about 15% of the people enter their name and email address. 15% of those people filled in the form.
Okay. Did I forgot what I was going to ask now. Oh, well, it was a different thing, which was I was going to say that you should talk to Josh.
Yeah, I should.
Because you know what Josh is doing right now, and maybe you're not quite ready for it yet, but he is, with his business, he is getting people, he's like helping people hire a salesperson and then training that salesperson for their sales process,
Huh.
which is pretty cool, which is pretty much exactly what you need.
Oh, I left that out, by the way. I did talk to a sales guy.
Oh, okay.
So
but
many
does
things.
he need that? Okay, so I wanted to talk about that. At this stage, are we talking about his sponsorship?
Yeah, that was for sponsorship.
Okay. Yeah.
And what happened was when how do I put it? So John said, hey, get somebody who's sold like magazine ads or stuff like that. Somebody who listens to the show referred me to somebody else who had done that kind of work. I got on a call. No, he had done magazine ads, this guy. But I talked to him on Monday and we had a good chat. And then he's like, look, I could sell this. He said, but I know some guys that actually do the kind of, sales that you're talking about. And he let me know that he was going to get back to me next week. And anyway, he was super helpful because he also helped me hash out some of the sales process for sponsors. And
it pays to talk to these people.
Yeah.
In fact, I would think you could actually get on Upwork and talk to a sales to sales B2B sales guy.
Yeah.
Or even on clarity.fm and talk to a B2B sales guy. Pay them for their hour and get some insights on them.
Oh, that's true. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's been kind of interesting to just kind of follow through on. But yeah, so he's going to refer me a couple of people.
It's good.
We made the LDS connection. That was kind of how it all worked. Is the one guy he's like, I listen to Auto Programmers. I identify with you partially because we share our faith. Mm-hmm. And then he connected me with this other guy who's also LDS. And yeah, anyway, so it's been kind of interesting that's the connection, because sometimes that pans out and sometimes it doesn't. So
yeah, I mean, I get emails from Auto Programmers listeners, and there are specific reasons why they connect with me more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mostly because I'm the rebel here.
The rebel.
I'm the one who's like anti whatever the fuck is going on. No, it's just because they say, oh, I like it because you were always creating a ruckus.
Yeah.
So they're like, you're smarter than those other guys.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're thinking that. They're just saying, I like the guy because he just creates ruckus all the time.
Yeah. There is some value though to the pushback. Yeah. So yeah. But
that's good, man. Like, you need a sales system and a sales process to make this work.
I'm nailing a lot of that down.
But then I think about another guy in my mastermind, another guy in my in my group coaching, right? Where the guy doesn't even have to go after sponsors. The sponsors come to him all the time, to the point where he has to, you know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
But the sponsors come to him. And I was trying to figure out, why is it that like Chuck has to have this like involved sales system and process, and on the other hand, this guy just gets, like, he literally gets sponsors paying him $5K, $10K, $20K for his sponsorships all the time, and we're working on creating better deals for him. But still, like, the fact that he probably generates 6 figures from sponsorships without even doing anything, without even selling the damn thing, there's something to be said. So the reason I came up with, and I might be wrong about this, but this is what I thought when I was trying to figure out why you don't have a sponsored lineup like he does, is because he only talks about one thing and it caters to a very specific niche audience. And that allows him to penetrate through the noise, and he becomes like the only known commodity in the space. Or one of the few known commodities in the space. Well, in your case, because there's so much noise and because there's so many other people, or because it's not as small a niche, you may not be getting those deals.
Yeah.
Like his whole thing is dedicated to one topic, while your whole thing is
Mhm.
dedicated to so many topics that and the funny thing is his overall listenership is smaller than yours,
Yeah.
way smaller than yours, but even then he gets better deals because he's catering to a very small or very niche topic,
Yep.
right? So how could you have more positioning like him in for his sponsorship? That's what I was thinking. Like, how could you be more
Yeah.
like that guy?
Well, I mean, one of the things, if you're talking about who I think you're talking about, that he does that I don't, is that he actually has events that he puts on as well. It's not just the podcast. And I think he's one of the only virtual events in his space. And I think
Yeah.
that's where it is. So he's got a differentiating factor. Whereas, I have a podcast and a bunch of other people have podcasts, and the structure of our podcast isn't enough to differentiate us. And so what I need something else. I actually have a master plan behind this. But what he has to differentiate him is different from what I have to differentiate me. And so if I could put something out there, I've thought about doing events. I've thought about doing a newsletter. I've thought about doing some of the other things where it's less of a red ocean, right? Because there aren't as many people in the space, but where I actually know that people are succeeding. I've thought about expanding that way, but there are a couple of things that I have to nail down first in the stuff that I'm doing. I don't have the mental bandwidth to go chase another thing right now.
No, you should not be chasing anything more. You should be chasing less things,
right.
more.
So that's my issue, is that I think I need to find some other thing that differentiates me. And the obvious ones are things that I would have to add to my plate. And so, I need to figure out if there's anything I can do within the current structure of what I have that could make that difference. That's not going to add another big project to my plate, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So there's something, there is, the niching, the differentiation, the specificity of what he caters to that allows him to charge premium pricing compared to where you're at. Like, you're going to DigitalOcean, which is such a broad, DigitalOcean. We're talking.
Yeah, they cater to everybody.
Hosting, that could be like John could promote them, I could promote them, you could promote them, right?
Yeah.
Right.
In the sense, it's such a broad thing. While his sponsors are so precise in his space, and that's why he gets massive.
So you think ROI. I should create more niche down shows? Is that what?
No, please don't create any shows. No, I wouldn't worry about. Don't worry about the shows. I'm just trying to I'm just trying to figure out how you could be more precise in your communication to allow for more precise. Like, who are the players in the Java space, or JavaScript space that you should be like having on your show as sponsors, no matter what?
Yeah.
Like, why? How come they are not sponsoring, right? Because it feels like he's in a space where he commands a good price because he's one of the few in that specific space, and he has a very specific niche audience in that space. Well,
so one thing that I have thought about, and this is something that Richard Campbell and I talked about a while back, and I actually had it come up with another sponsor that I was talking to at the time, or a couple of weeks ago, and essentially what they brought up was that, hey, if you have shows about these topics, we'd like to sponsor them. The problem is we don't always know what the topics are ahead of time. Or if we do know what we're going to record ahead of time, sometimes we have people drop out or this or that. And so we don't actually, we can't guarantee them that that's going to be the topic on that given week. So if we could be, 4 or 5 weeks ahead, then I could actually just email the sponsors every month and just say, hey guys, these are the shows we're going to put out. Are any of them interesting to you to sponsor? And then that way they can hit the stuff that's their niche, and they wouldn't be hitting the stuff that's not their niche.
Another angle to do it, which might be, available too, is to actually go to the big names in your industry and say, hey, would love to promote. And do you have specific topics that you would like us to touch upon?
Right.
We could do a package of like 4 podcast episodes over a 4-month period, which
That'd
talk
be
about
interesting. Yeah.
these topics in your industry. So either you take it or I'm going to give it to another player in the industry to take it.
I like that. Yeah. What topics when people are talking about these topics,
would you like us to talk about
what?
you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
When people talk about these topics, these are the, people start buying your product. So
Right.
what are those topics? And then, hey, we'll pull together 3 or 4 episodes where we cover, those topics, right? And it'll just be a regular episode, but you'll be the sponsor on them.
Yes. So that might be an angle to work the sponsorships.
That would be really interesting. I'd be interested to see how people respond to that, because I think some of them would. I think some of them will still just be like, I don't know. It's amazing how many of these folks just don't know their own message, right? They just don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, and these are tech people, so they are not really so much into messaging, unfortunately, right? They're like, let us just do the.
Well, I'm talking to their marketing people, and a lot of times the marketing people still don't know. I mean, the companies that do have the marketing people that do understand it, they're typically willing to talk to me about sponsorship. Like if I can get on the phone with them, they typically have that stuff together. But a lot of the other companies, when I reach out to them, that's their hang up, is they don't know if it's going to work because they don't actually know the message. And so some of them, I could go to them and just say, hey, look, when people buy, what's getting them in the door, right? Is it a specific article on your website? Is it, people referring them based on, certain topics? Yeah. And then we can cover those things on the shows.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible that helps you get some of these people in the door and get the conversation started. But having a sales, we're talking like so many different angles to get your sponsorships going, like having a salesperson, having a sales process, making sure that you're giving your sponsors different opportunities to work with you. And just like I was telling him about like creating packages, that's another thing you could consider, like not just a podcast, but a podcast plus an email promotion plus a website promotion plus all of those things combined would make it much more comprehensive offering for them to be interested in what you have to say or be interested in sponsoring you.
Yep, absolutely.
There is something that's not like, it might also be the content. Maybe the content is not what they wanted, which causes them to not want to sponsor. But it's the difference between inbound sponsorships versus outbound sponsorship, right? You have to do outbound right now while he's getting inbounds. And I think JLD for EOFire, it was always inbound for him, right?
Right. Yeah, once he was the kind of the show in the space. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
Yeah, because if I can elevate any of the shows to be kind of the go-to in the space, then that's where we get that inbound.
Because you got so many different fields you could be covering, like, okay, Ruby on Rails, okay, freaking JavaScript, Java. Okay, well, no, how about this and that and this and that? Like, you got how many shows right now?
10.
Yeah. If all of your messaging was focused on one show, it would have been actually faster growth in some ways.
Right? Yeah,
because you have 10 shows, it becomes really difficult to be able to sponsor, get depth in any one field.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that people usually come in to sponsor JavaScript Jabber.
Yeah.
Like when I get inbound stuff, that's almost always what they're after. And then usually I can...
Okay, so the best thing you can do is look at the intersection of all of your inbound inquiries for JavaScript Jabber and see what's the commonality amongst them. What is it that they were asking for, or what kind of companies are they? And then just make it a point to go after that like go after that segment of audience again and again and again and cater to that, because there must be a reason why those inbounds are coming to you.
Right.
And do you know what the commonalities were off the top of your head?
I don't know.
You couldn't even come up with one commonality?
Well, usually it's they go out and they're looking for a podcast to sponsor or looking for a channel to be on, and they ask JavaScript developers and they tell them to come to us.
See, I think in case of the other guy, what's happening is that there are decision makers who are actually listening to him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
In that arena. And they're saying, oh, yeah, we want to be on this show because we listen to this guy and we actually like his show. So that makes...
Yeah, I get some of that, but yeah, not all of it.
So what's the commonality? Is there a specific kind of tech? Is there a specific kind of like outcome? Like what, if I were to put a gun to your head and say, Chuck, what's the one common denominator amongst all of your most lucrative sponsorships?
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with that, to be honest.
See, this is the 80-20 analysis that your business needs to understand what are the 20% opportunities you need to go after and really go hard after rather than spraying your effort all over the place.
Yeah. They're usually companies of a certain size. They're usually funded, like venture funded.
But why? Like, what exactly is in the job? Like,
driving them to me?
Yeah. Why JavaScript Jabber of all the shows? Like, what were the commonalities in some of them? Like,
of it's all the size, or sometimes it's because we had a specific guest or we covered a specific topic.
No. That's not the point. What I'm looking for a different answer. I'm looking for an answer along the lines of, okay, all of the companies that came to us were doing this kind of product or this kind of service or this kind of result or this kind of market.
Oh, I gotcha.
Or this kind of niche.
I mean, the kind of marketing and stuff that they're doing.
Not marketing.
The product they're selling. The products are kind of all over the place. Like the biggest ones, I think, over the last several years have been like hired.com, which help people find jobs. There was also Sentry.io, which does like bug tracking and stuff. I mean, the bug tracking and performance tracking are probably the most common ones.
Dude, you should strike deals with the job search things. Coding job search things or coding schools. You should, like, those are highly lucrative offers.
The coding schools have been exceptionally hard to get.
What about job search portals and things like that?
They're usually willing.
Huh?
Yeah, they're usually willing. TopTal is kind of a different animal. But
it is a different animal.
But like Hired.com, Indeed, we talked to. I think I needed to follow up with them more. There was somebody else too that looked a lot like, that was the same kind of structure that we also had sponsors for a while. I just can't remember the name of the company.
Here's a possibility. What if you did this? What if you found a really big coding boot camp, right? And then you partnered with them exclusively, and you basically, like, you work out a deal where you get some amount of royalties from their applicants, right? And all of your podcast network, it is all brought to you by blah, 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 coding bootcamp school, you know, and you talk about it several times during the show, right? You bring on students, right? You sort of like basically just partner with them where they completely sponsor the entire podcast network, one coding school. What you could do is you can come up with, like, I don't know, come up with 5 of the top coding schools that exist, right? and pitch them all on the idea and be like, I'm trying to pick, like, flip it around. Instead of you chasing them, they're chasing you. So basically be like, look, I have 5 people I'm looking at right now. I'm going to pick one of you guys to do an exclusive sponsorship with, that I'm going to send everyone that that I'm going to partner with, and and basically get them to tell you why that they should be the one, right? I mean, you've got a lot to offer, because you can be like, look, this is how I've the biggest podcast network for developers, right? Like, this is a huge source of income, but I want to partner with one partner, so I don't have to deal with sponsorships and managing all those things. And this is an opportunity. So what's your offer, right? And so get like 4 or 5 of them bidding against each other in order to completely own your podcast, not own your podcast network, but have complete exclusive rights to your podcast network and to completely sponsor it. I would imagine that, I mean, like a coding bootcamp sale is somewhere around $10,000 to $15,000 up to $20,000, right? So, if they sponsor your entire network, right, and you talk about it every show, and every show is like, this is brought to you by XYZ company, and you have a couple of ad spots on every show for it. I mean, shit, how many sales do they need to make? Like, are they going to make 10 sales a month from it? I think easily, right? 10 sales a month at $10K a pop, right? Some overhead costs, whatever. I mean, they're making $100,000 a month from you. Let's say their overhead is 50%. There's 50K. So they cut you a check for 25. I mean, that, to me, it's a no brainer, right? Like, so I don't know. I think it's worth a shot, but you got to get them against each other.
You have to become an affiliate for them and commit to being an affiliate for them for a period of time.
Not an affiliate, a partnership.
Yeah, right? But it's an affiliate, right?
I'm thinking more than that. I'm thinking like they give you some equity in the compmpany.
Well, the big ones aren't doing that right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I mean, like, you could be a huge source of their, I don't know, whatever deal that you can, like, let them bid, let them negotiate deals for your exclusive.
Yeah, I think it would be an affiliate deal, but that's why not, like, affiliate deal is probably anyways lucrative enough at this point.
Yeah. I mean, you just don't want to call it affiliate deal. You want to call it a partnership, because think about this, right? Am I right in saying that you own the largest software, like, developer podcast network in the world?
As far as I know.
Right. I think it's uncontested. Find me someone else who owns a bigger. So that's a prize. Like, you just have to position yourself like that. In fact, with all the sponsors, you should be positioning yourself like that. It'd be like, look, there's nowhere else you can go that has a bigger podcast network. This is the number one. We're the best in the world. Number one podcast network for developers. There's no one larger. Right. There's not even a second place that I know of that's close. Right. So either way, that should be your positioning for sponsors. But if you do that with these coding boot camps, I'm pretty sure, I mean, it's a lucrative deal for them, right? Like I said, maybe they get 20 new signups per month. I don't think that's unreasonable. I think 10 is like a no-brainer. They should get 10 people signed up per month, but maybe they get 20, maybe, somewhere around that range. It easily pays for your cost. It easily pays for everything that you're trying to make from the sponsorships. And then on your end, you don't have to manage shit. All you have to do is make the podcast. That's it.
Right. So, yeah, I guess. So some of the things that are kind of coming to mind here. One, I'm going to circle back to that one. So the first thing is that a lot of these folks, they're going to want me to talk about it on every show, but I'm not on every show. And so I've got to get my hosts on each show to talk about it. Right. And not just do a pre-recorded ad. So that's one issue. I think that's workable. But, because I just have to tell them, look, this is how we're paying for the whole shebang, right? The second issue is, how much do I offer, right? Because with the podcast, is one thing. I guess what we're talking about here is, you're saying, like, have multiple ads in each show for that sponsor, right?
But it's more than just having multiple ads in the show, because there's a difference between being like let's say I was like, okay, like every time that I do a YouTube video, I'm like, welcome to Bulldog Mindset, brought to you by XYZ company, and then like it's like, now it's different than me being like, okay, here's an ad that I'm running, right? It's like
Right.
now, like they're part
They're
of
part
the
of the
family.
content. Yeah.
Exactly. They're part of the content. They're part of the family. You're interviewing the CEO of the company. You know what I mean? Like like the trust level is higher because
Right.
it is almost like it's a complete partnership, right? So
Right.
that's the what I'm thinking about. Yeah. And I think, I mean, if you can, I don't see why you couldn't get it to work, right? Like they're
Right. So I just need one. Is that what you're telling me? Just get one?
just but you get like 4 or 5 of them bidding against each other, and you
Right.
tell them, I'm only going to choose one for exclusive sponsorship for the largest. This is your only chance to lock in to get access to the largest podcast network for software developers in the world.
Right. And then we just lock it in for a year and then have another bidding war next year, or
I think maybe you give them a 5-year deal or something like that.
I mean, it's worth testing it for a few months before you know what's going to come out of it, right?
Well, here's the thing about it is like, I mean, a few months might be enough time. I would say 6 months minimum, because the whole thing, like what's going to generate the best results for them is going to be that this is an ongoing partnership, that like they're going to hear every person listening to your podcast every single day is going to hear the same company, and this is the coding school that you know that you're partnered with. And so that's gonna, if you just did it for a month or 2 months, it's not going to be enough for them to for people to register.
No,
but
that's
when they
true.
realize, this is the one, if you trust me, you trust this company. And obviously you have to find a trustworthy company. I mean, that's also important. You have to vet them out. But assuming, I'm assuming that the top 5 biggest ones are going to be, the best ones. So.
Right. And when you're saying coding school, are you talking like online boot camp kind of coding school, or something like Pluralsight kind of coding school? Or
it could be in person. It could be, but I think coding boot camp of some sort, because I feel like that has you don't want to do something like Pluralsight, because Pluralsight, what's its subscription? $500, $600 a month. A year, that's nothing. You like coding boot camp tuition is $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, right?
Right.
That makes it worth it, that they have the budget to spend. Like if they're exclusively sponsoring you, and like I said, let's just assume they get 10 sales at $10K a month. That's $100K a month of revenue that they're making from you. They can afford to pay you. So basically,
it's an affiliate deal, because there's no risk on their side and the risk is all on your side, which is cool. Like if that's what it takes to get the deal.
They're paying you a fixed fee.
Yeah, there'd be a base fee, and then there'd be a percentage on top of it.
Exactly, a percentage on top. So yeah, because they have to invest initially, because the first month you do this, they're not going to get as many sales, right? But over time, as the trust builds and the reputation by them sponsor the entire network, then they're going to start to see the benefits of that. And also the thing about it is it's not totally trackable, right? Because it's a brand move, right? It's
right. And some people are just going to go to the website and sign up instead of using my affiliate code or whatever.
Exactly. And so they'll see that it's worth it. Like, I'm just thinking from my perspective. Like, for example, I hired a guy to do my TikTok for me, right? $1,500 a month, okay, to start TikTok. And he does like Instagram Reels for me and stuff. And it's like, I don't even really need to run the numbers. I don't know. Like, I have a link in my bio on TikTok, but I'm reaching 1 million views on TikTok per month. So out of 1 million people that I'm reaching, am I making $1,500? Maybe I'm not, but if I'm not, it's pretty damn close. It doesn't, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, and if I reach more people, so it's a no-brainer for me. I don't even need the stats to track the numbers to know that this is probably a pretty good deal, right? It's the same thing there. It's like, you got the largest podcast network where you're getting, hundreds of thousands of downloads per month. Are they going to get 10 people? Maybe they can't track it, but probably with the word of mouth and hearing it over and over, that they're going to, so to me, it's just a no-brainer type of deal.
Right. So when I was at the live event, I was talking to somebody else, and he kind of brought up the idea of like a brand ambassadorship kind of thing, which is kind of what you're talking about.
Yep.
The companies we were talking about were more along the lines of like Oracle Cloud or folks like that, right? And the difference, I guess, between what you're talking about and what I talked about with this guy was, we could put in like, hey, here's how you do blah blah with Ruby on Oracle Cloud, right? And you just put a video out every week or something like that. That also shows up on the network, right? It's not just, so it's all part of the same content bucket. It just, yeah, but there would be some extra work involved in that. That's the difference here. But the flip side is it may or may not be more lucrative. And if it's enough money to get me out of my job, then I can actually, I can spend the time putting the videos out or find somebody to help me put the videos out.
But it's better like if you can.
But I like the avenue of not having to do any more work than I'm already doing.
Yeah. And then like the thing about it is too, like if you could just have this taken care of, and that's what I was kind of trying to do with the whole with the developer media thing, because that would have worked. But this is a similar type of play. But the idea is like if you can get to the point where you're just getting this money, like you only have to deal with one sponsor, and it's just like you don't even have to know what the ad reads are because they're always the same, or like there's some it's very simplified. Then you can focus all your effort on creating new podcasts and growing the existing ones and advertising. Right. And then that becomes the thing that you focus on. And then, it just makes it more valuable over time. Cause I think you'll have more success at doing that. And plus it's probably something you enjoy doing more than doing the sales process. I mean, I don't know if this will work, right? But in my mind, it makes sense. Like I would do like, if I'm a coding boot camp, sure, I would be like, yeah, I'll give you, 15, 20K a month.
Just be careful of one thing, being dependent on one.
Yeah.
Just saying, because it is a dangerous proposition to have one thing to build your business on, or one customer or one client.
Yeah, there would have to be a contract
but here's the difference. Remember, the key thing that you're selling here is exclusivity, right? And you're going to give them a limited exclusivity contract, and then you become a free agent again, right? You give them first right of refusal, right? That would be standard in the contract. So basically, let's say you give them a 1-year contract. Then you say, okay, after this 1-year contract, I'm going to potentially raise prices or whatever, like you're locked in for this. I will give you a first right of refusal. Whatever I'm going to raise the prices to, you have the first offer. So you can keep the exclusivity. You get it first. But after that, I'm free agent. I'm shopping it, and the other companies, like especially if it's been successful, you can go to one of their competitors, and then it creates a double lock in, right? Because when you're making them money, that's one thing, right?
If I'm not making their competitor money.
Exactly. So it creates a double lock-in. So it increases your value there, as long as you're making the money, right? That's the key. Because then they know that not only are they losing the money, but they're increasing their competitors. So
yeah, it'd be worth it. I'd have to figure out who the targets are and do the work to figure out. Yeah.
And worst case comes to worst case, let's say that you do all this work and it doesn't pan out. I mean, I feel like it could. But at the worst case, then you'd have like at least 4 or 5 coding boot camps that you would be able to contact for just regular sponsorship anyway, which you need to do anyway. So, but I think this could work. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, because I know what they want. They want more students, right?
Yeah. And you're like, and this is perfect because like the thing that Manny was saying, like where like the other guy that had the podcast that was very specific. So the sponsorships were coming to him. Like the thing that's actually specific, but not specific about your podcast that people don't know is like the most people that listen to podcasts on software development are new developers or people trying to get into software development. And those are the people that need to go to boot camps or would be interested in going to boot camps, right? I mean, of course, there's senior developers and stuff that listen to the podcast, but if you looked at the audience of podcasts, right, for developers, it's going to be, I would bet that 80% of them are new developers or getting into development is listeners. So it should line up.
Yep. Yeah, it should line up. We get a fair number of new developers. The other thing is part of the deal, I could just say, look, we'll spin up a show for new developers, or, if they have an area of technology that they cover that we don't, right, we can spin up that show too. and work the promotion so that we can be sending people to them.
Right.
But I've talked to the guys that started Lambda School, so I know them. And then I've got and they've got a data science which plays nicely with machine learning, and then they've got a web development, and they've also got a mobile development. And I know the guy that was running their mobile end. He used to be on iPhreaks. So I've got tie-ins, but I can reach out to some of the others because I have relationships in some of them too, some of the bigger ones. And
low key pitch it to them, right? Whoever you got the closer relationship, be like this. Be like, I have this idea. Just bounce it off of them. What do you think? Right. Mm-hmm. And then you'll be able to judge by if they're like, fuck, don't go to anyone else. then absolutely it's a good idea. Right. And if they're like, I don't know, I wouldn't really be interested in that, then I don't know, then maybe, you might have to change the angle or something like that and see. It doesn't mean it won't work, but talk to them and see. But you really got to sell it, like I said, I mean, your value proposition, like the number one value proposition, because this is the thing that people are wowed by, like one thing. Like people always buy products for one stupid thing, right? Like I was just talking to someone the other day and they're like, I bought the Tesla for the fart noise. There's like a fart horn. Like,
oh, really?
They're like, you're going to think this is stupid. I was like, that's people buy things for one thing, right? But your big one bullet point here, like your biggest pitch is like, you are the biggest podcast network for software developers in the world, right? That's like the greatest claim to fame that you can make, right? There's no other, I mean, everyone will recognize that. And so to me, that's your biggest selling point, because people are going to move based on that alone, and then it's the fear, right? It's like, because you're positioning yourself there, which is true. You're the biggest podcast network. That's your claim to fame. And then the fear element is you're looking for an exclusivity. Like you're picking between, 4 or 5, and you can name their competitors if you want and be like, I'm trying to see who's going to be the best fit and what will, and I'm only going to give this to one person, right? Or one group. That makes them be afraid, because now they're also fearing like, okay, well, so now they have to decide, is this worth it to me? Maybe they're unsure, but then they're like, well, if I pass on this and my competitor takes it up
and it takes off,
right, then I'm screwed and I'll have regret to live with. So you really got to like punch those buttons, and I think you can sell it.
Well, I think I'm going to go shop it around and see what I get back, because I think I can thumbnail outline kind of what it looks like. If I send them a long email, they're not going to read it. But if I can kind of say, hey, look, here are the basic points, right?
Yeah. And then get them on a call. Like, so just give them a teaser, an email teaser with some basic bullets.
Yeah.
On the number one, and then be like, I have something I want to talk to you about, and just get them on a call, and then you can really pitch them.
Here's the other reason why the other person is getting the deals, and it's related to what we're talking about here. You have 100x better chances when you're going warm rather than cold. Cold outreach is hard work. It's painful. It's very difficult to close. But that guy, the reason why he's getting the deals is because those people are coming to him because they're already listeners. Yep. They already know him. So if you had a way to only go to your warm audience, you would have 10 to 100x a better shot at it. So if there is a way to find those people in your audience who are owners, or your friends who are owners, or friends through your network, like trying to tap into the network to find those people, will be exponentially more effective than trying to do this by cold emails. So if you could, I would find a way to solicit that in some way through a network contact.
Yeah.
And even if this doesn't play out the way you want it to play out, I don't know like how this would play out. I would think if you put a call out on your podcast itself saying, hey, we're looking for sponsors. You are interested in sponsoring, email us, sponsor@devchat.tv.
Right.
You're going to get 100 times better sponsors than what you're dealing with right now, because you're going cold versus warm. It's coming the other way.
Yeah.
Here's
possible.
one more. Here's one more to add to that too. Ultimate power move if you want to do this, right? Because
Get naked.
Yes. Okay. Hire an agent to represent you. So have the agent contact these 5 top coding boot camps. Okay. Have
Can't
the
get
agent
over the
contact
booty thing.
the booty. Yeah. The booty camp.
I'm going to be making some booty calls.
Start a booty camp. A booty camp. That's it. That's your business. Booty camp. You're gonna. All right. You're gonna teach people how to twerk. That's it. All right. So you hire an agent, okay, and the agent contacts all those boot camps and sets up the meeting and the negotiation. Because now you're a big shot. Now you got the representation, right? Now they take it serious. Maybe you pay the agent 10% of the deal. Worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, should we do our thoughts for the week?
Still on.
You guys really got me thinking. Of course, we only talked about my stuff. Sorry.
That's all right. We got to get you to quit your job.
Oh, that would be so nice.
We're going to get there.
Yeah, we did a podcast episode for Adventures in Machine Learning, and my guest, who's also a friend of mine, he was talking about how big companies have like this. They make certain things that shouldn't be a giant pain. And I was like, yeah, I work for one of those. And he just started laughing. I was like, if my boss heard me say that, he'd probably go, Chuck, you really shouldn't. Okay, you're right.
Let's hope so. Otherwise, you're going to accelerate the process. We don't want to accelerate the process.
Yeah, but yeah, I know a few point folks at several of these coding schools. So it'd be interesting just to see how we can pull it together. Because yeah, I like pulled up a list online, and it's funny because I'm like, okay, I know somebody at that one, I know someone at that one, I know somebody at that one, and in some of them I know the founders. So
there you go. I think you can pitch this. I think this can work for sure.
I think it'd be interesting to see where it goes. Yeah.
Because you don't need, like I said, I think, see how it works. See what you want them to bid. That's the keys. You want them bidding against each other. Then you can figure out what kind of deal you can get. So,
right.
Because there is a price.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe let's say the price was like, there's some price where it's absolute, right? Let's say that if you offered this for $5,000 a month, every single one of them would take you up on that unless they're completely idiots, right?
Yeah.
So if you offered it for $100,000 a month, I don't know, maybe someone would, or it's probably no one would, right? But there's somewhere that's a price that you could get for this. So.
Right. Sounds good.
All right.
So my thought is basically what we just did, because this is what a mastermind really is, right? A lot of times we get on and we're like, hey, this is what happened this week, and that's more or less our conversation. But this is what a mastermind really is about, right? It's about, hey, what we came up with together is better than what any one of us would have come up with on our own, right? And so I said something that prompted John to say something. It prompted Manny to add something in. I came back with my feedback because I'm the one that's actually going through this stuff. They both piled on with more ideas and more thoughts. And that's the real power of what this is. That's the power of what we're doing. It's not the, hey, I love you guys, and being able to get on and talk about how great life is. It really is about, okay, here are the ideas that may be able to take you to the next level.
Right.
So find a mastermind, I guess, is my pick. And we started out talking about The Common Path to Uncommon Success, the book, and it talks about that in there too.
You guys talked about that?
Just briefly. I haven't read it yet.
Just briefly. I kind of gave him a rundown of what I thought of the book. So
what did you think of the book?
We'll have to go back and listen.
That's the whole point. That's why I'm here.
Did you read it yet, Manny? Or did you get a copy of the book? Okay.
No.
I thought it was good. If somebody's looking for kind of the roadmap for how to build kind of an influencer or online business like what John Lee Dumas has built, then it kind of walks you through the stages that you need to go through to get there, and some of the tools you need to pull together. And yeah, one of them was, hey, we started this mastermind, and these are some of the things that came out of it, right? So
yeah, I'll get to that book.
Let's see. Mine would be make decisions that benefit you, that will create a better life for you 5 years in the future. That's like, because when you're in the midst of making decisions, your judgment is clouded by emotion, by immediate wants and needs, and short term. Mm-hmm. So always think about what will be the best decision 5 years from now, and keep making those decisions. And there's a 5-year lag on making that change in your life. But it's like, the way I always think of it is like, every day I want to have a box, and I want to fill it with a bunch of good things and label it, seal it up and label it to myself 5 years from now, and ship off a new box every day. And then 5 years in the future, every day I'll start getting those boxes. And so, a lot of people think about trying to, make decisions in the short term versus the long term. But I think the best thing to do is always be thinking, how can I optimize my life for 5 years from now? And if you have that in mind, then you're going to make the best decisions.
Yeah, I was, so I'm going to give a little story before my thoughts. I was on YouTube, and this video came across that said how she sold her company to Lululemon for $500 in 2 years, $500 million in 2 years. And I clicked on it, and it was CNBC video on how this girl who founded Mirror, the fitness thing, fitness device Mirror, and she sold it to Lululemon for $500 million. It's the whole story. And I was like, just sitting there, and part of me was like, okay, 2 years, that's very quick. Like, does not make sense, right? And then as they dig into the story, you find that she has been hustling in the fitness industry since 2008.
Yeah.
2008 is when her career started. She started a fitness studio. She was a ballet dancer. She went to college for ballet dancing and for like marketing and all those things. Then she did ballet. Then she did fitness studio. Then she started multiple fitness studios. Then she, like, in the fitness studio, she did a survey, and some of the customers said, "Oh, I really like the fact that you, like, the best thing you did this year was have mirrors in the studio." Mm-hmm. And that led her to starting this company called Mirror, and so on and so forth, right? So it was actually a 12-day event, 12-year event that CNBC called how she sold her business to Lululemon for $500 million in 2 years.
Overnight success.
So every time you come across someone who's having massive success, like in their respective field, you almost always will be certain that that person has been hustling for over 5 to 10 years in that field to get to that point where that success really happened that quickly. It almost never happens as instantaneously as the world wants you to believe, where, oh yeah, I started the business and now I'm making millions of dollars this year. It was just yesterday I was making nothing. And it's like either the person has been hustling in that field, whether in jobs or something like that, or they've been hustling as an entrepreneur in different capacities, and finally they're making it. Whichever it is, it's always a much longer term play than what the media wants you to believe or what the hype wants you to believe about them. So be very wary of the hype of like other success, which makes you feel like, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Most of the times, other success is probably just as mundane as yours. It's just taking a long time for you to get there. And the 4, 5, 6 years, 10 years are part of the process. It's not a one-day event.
Yep, very true. All right, guys. Well,
I just have to say, I started podcasting in 2008. So Lululemon, I'm right here.
There we go. Sell your podcast to
right
Lululemon.
Here.
There we go. Right.
You want to talk to, maybe Mark Cuban.
Oh, Mark Cuban. Yeah, well, I was going to call him next week, because we're besties, except he doesn't know who I am.
Remember I said, go to your warm connections? and you just don't call Robert Herjavec, you don't call Mark Cuban,
I know,
don't
right?
call Mark Zuckerberg. Like you're just not going to your warm connections.
Yeah, go to their
Those
house.
jerks. I'm waiting for them to call me.
Just talk to Jeff Bezos. It's enough is enough. Just call him.
You have to. When they open their garage door, you run inside
and you hide.
Yes.
Surprise!
Why would I hide? Jeff and I are like this. We are like this. I'm the thumb.
What you do is you run into. When they open their garage door, you run inside and you hide, and then you sleep overnight in the garage, and then you wake up early in the morning and you make them breakfast. And
just for Jeff Bezos and his new girlfriend.
That's my strategy. Okay. All right.